it is popularly known as the diamond water paradox. Okay, Adam Smith is the father of modern economics, who has talked about this paradox in his studies. And again, guys, from an exam standpoint, not very important. It is not even there in your study mat. If you open your CMA study mat, this topic is not there in your study mat. But I want you to teach, I want you to learn this topic, because whenever you go to a valuation expert or a professional, or whenever you get an interview, this is the first concept that every valuer should know. What is the difference between what is the diamond water paradox? So that is why, for your practical knowledge, I'm making you understand this particular concept. Okay. So what is the diamond and water paradox? Achha, I hope you are clear about value in use. Whatever use you will take that asset into, that will be the true value of that particular asset. So it is value in use. Whatever use you are going to put that asset into, that will be the value in use. Okay. Now coming on to diamond water paradox, guys. Okay. Now diamond is not essential for human life. Diamond is a necessity. Diamond is a luxury, not a necessity. If diamond is not given to you, will you die? Answer is no, you will not die. Diamond is not a necessity for human life. Diamond is just a luxury for human life. You are not going to be fall any less, or you're not going to be any less powerful if diamond is not with you. You're not going to suffer or something like that. But yes, some of my female students will beg to disagree with this theory. Some of my female students will say, sir, a woman cannot live without a diamond. Women's best friend, girl's best friend is diamond. So this theory is not applicable to girls. Okay, let me carve out an exception for this theory. This theory is not applicable on girls. Okay, let me carve out that theory, because I don't want to discuss or further deliberate upon this. So let's carve out women from this theory. This theory is applicable only on men. Okay, let's continue with the theory. The theory is diamond is less valuable because it does not hold any value, because it is not life threatening, but it's more expensive as compared to diamond. Water is life threatening. If you do not get water, then your life will be at risk. So water is more valuable, but its price is very less. Diamond is less valuable, but its price is more. Diamond is less valuable, but its price is more. Water is more valuable, but its price is less. Here you can easily see what is the trade-off between price and value. What is the difference between price and value? Price is when you ascertain the amount of price of a particular good on the basis of its demand and supply. So demand of water is high, supply is also high, therefore price of water is not high, it's low. But value of water is too high. Value of water is too high. Suppose you are feeling thirsty, okay? Can you do this thing that, mom, you please give me your diamond ring, I will lick the diamond ring and I will quench my thirst. Is it possible? Answer is no. For quenching your thirst, you need water only. You cannot be satisfied with diamond. And therefore, there is a clear distinguishing factor between price and value. Price is what you pay. Not necessarily it corroborates with the value that you get. And value is what you get in return. What is the satisfaction level that you get in return? What is the level of value worth that you're getting in return? Even when we go to a market and the shopkeeper tells us this good is worth 200 rupees, we evaluate in our mind whether it's worth it or not. Whether it is worth the 200 rupees or not, we evaluate in our minds, guys. And that is exactly the difference between price and value. Very aptly explained by Adam Smith by way of this water and diamond paradox. Now I think you are very clear about what are the distinguishing factors between price and value, and how price is different from value. And then in this particular subject, guys, we are going to delve into value more than price. We are not going to touch upon price, because pricing is a economics concept, and it's subject to economics theories and economical functions. However, valuation is subject to valuation theories, which we are going to study in this particular subject, guys. And guys, it's a request, please, whatever charts I'm making on the board, you please copy these charts on your register, so that you have everything handy with you whenever you are revising. And I will try to make a lot of charts in the class, so that you are able to understand and you are able to remember these things well. more so for theoretical topics, I will create these charts and I will prepare all the relevant material for you. Mostly for theoretical topics I will prepare it more. So guys, please make sure that these charts are there in your register, so that your register is complete. And of course the book which you have got for SPMBV, it's a wholesome book, okay? Even for cost and management audit, it's a wholesome book. Even if you have not taken coaching from me of cost and management audit, guys, and even if you're doing it independently, my recommendation would be buy my book and solution book. I have book and solution book, and that will be very, very beneficial for you. Not because I am selling it and that's why I'm marketing my book, but even referring to that book for doing self-study along with a solution book, that will be very, very beneficial to you. So you can do that if you are not planning to take coaching of cost audit and you are trying to do it self. That's perfectly fine. But yes, that my book will be relevant and will be useful to you. Okay, so let's now first of all see these particular concepts in our book. So guys, the first page of this chapter will look like this in your book. Please open your book, and now we'll be studying from the book. Let's prepare our notes from the books. Okay, so the first thing that we need to understand is what is the difference between price and value. And the theory which explains this aptly is the theory of diamond water paradox. Guys, I have marked certain portions in your book as FYK, which is for your knowledge. They are not relevant from an examination standpoint because these are not there in your study mat, so they will not be asked in your examination. But from a practical standpoint, I have inserted it so that you are aware about these, and in your in your campus interviews, because now the next step is to appear for the campus interview. The next step is that only. In your campus interviews, you are able to actually use them well and reproduce these in your answers with your interviewers. That is the purpose of putting these elements. So these are FYKs for your knowledge only, not relevant for examination. How is the price of a good different from its value? So what is the difference between price and value? How is price different from value? This differentiation is aptly discussed in diamond water paradox. One of the most disconcerting problems to Adam Smith. Adam Smith is the father of modern economics. Now Adam Smith faced with a problem, faced with a concern, which was that he could not resolve the issue of valuation in human preferences. So human preferences were different and their values were very different. So he could not gauge this parity between prices and values. He described this problem in his book The Wealth of the Nations by comparing the high value of a diamond, which is unessential to human beings. Human beings are not using diamond for any useful purpose. It's unessential for human existence. Still the price of diamond is really high, okay, as compared to low value of water. Value of water is immense, but its price is very low, okay, without which humans will die, he will not sustain. He determined value in use was irrationally separated from value in exchange. So these two values were there. Value in use is the true value, and value in exchange is the price, okay. So he then came up with this theory of value in exchange and value of use. There are two different things which are value in exchange and value of use. He came up with this theory, and then he actually propounded this diamond water paradox. Clearly water is more valuable as an essential resource as opposed to luxury of owning a diamond. As demand increases as well, consumer must choose between one additional diamond versus an additional unit of water. This principle is known as marginal utility. Now he further explained this theory, went into the concept of marginal utility, that as more of money comes to a particular person, then will he demand one more additional unit of water as compared to one more additional unit of diamond? Of course, if my income increases, then I'll prefer more diamonds, because water has got diminishing marginal utility and its utility will diminish after I've had enough, okay. So that principle was also incorporated by Adam Smith, but the crux of the matter is, the conclusion is that price is very different from value. And in this subject we are going to delve into value and not price. Price is an economics concept. Demand supply intersection is an economics concept. We are not going to go into details of pricing, but we are going to focus on valuation. Now what is the difference between value and price? The difference between value and price is amount of money or other consideration asked for or given in exchange for something. The amount of money which is asked for or in exchange of something, that is known as price. So whatever you pay for buying a particular good or service, that is the price. Whatever you pay, that is the price. What is value? Value is the anticipated benefits or utility which you will derive from using that particular good. Whatever benefit you will derive from using that good, that is the value. Price is an outcome of a transaction. This is a very important difference, guys. So unless and until buy or sell happens, price will not be ascertained. Unless a buy or sell happens, price cannot be ascertained. Let me give you an example, okay? I went to market and I wanted to buy a, say, calculator. Now there were many shops in the market. Every shop was selling the calculator from price range of 200 to say 300 rupees, okay? There was one shop which was selling the same calculator for 1000 rupees. Its price was written as 1000 rupees and that calculator was displayed on the showroom. Of course I will not buy from that shop because that is immensely highly priced as compared to its competitors. Even after 5 years, even after 10 years, that price was not diluted by that shopkeeper and that calculator was as it is standing in the show window. What is the conclusion? Price cannot be fixed unless and until transaction happens. Price cannot be fixed only by the seller of the goods or commodities. Price can only happen, price can only be ascertained when a transaction happens between the buyer and the seller. When the buyer and seller transact, when the buyer and seller enter into a transaction of buy and sell, only then the price of a particular good can be ascertained. So price can be ascertained only when transaction has happened. It is an outcome of a transaction. So if transaction doesn't happen, the price cannot be ascertained. Sorry, price cannot be ascertained. The transaction has not happened. Just seller thinking in his mind, oh, I have goods worth rupees so much in my show window, its price is so and so, doesn't mean anything. Unless until there's a willing buyer and an actual transaction happens at that price, price is not fixed, price is not ascertained. As compared to this, guys, value can be ascertained even when there is no transaction, because the utility, the benefit which a particular asset will give to me, which a particular asset will I will have the utility or the benefit, that can be ascertained even when transaction has not happened. I will calculate what benefit did that asset give to me, and that benefit which that asset gives to me, that will be the value of that good. Even if it is not sold, even if it is not sold by the seller and purchased by the buyer, then also value can be ascertained. So value exists even if transaction is not there. Valuation can happen. So if I want to sell my business, then of course I will value that business. But even if I don't want to sell my business and I just want to value my business, I can value my business for sure. But price cannot happen unless until transaction happens, because something in my mind, if it cannot be realized, then it's not of any worth. So price and valuation are two different things. Price is ascertained only on the basis of demand and supply. Whatever are the market forces, on the basis of market forces, a price can be ascertained. Price is always ascertained on the basis of market forces, which is demand and supply. That is how prices are determined. And values are determined on the basis of expected benefits. Whatever expected benefits are accruing from that particular good, on the basis of that, the value can be ascertained. So value is ascertained on the basis of expected benefit, and price is ascertained on the basis of demand and supply. Then price is ascertained from a consumer perspective. From which perspective price is ascertained? From a consumer perspective. Whatever consumer is going to buy that good for, okay, price is ascertained always from a consumer standpoint. What consumer is willing to pay for that particular good, that is the price. So consumer perspective is larger as compared to seller's perspective in case of pricing. But in case of valuation, it is from the user's perspective that it is ascertained. Who is going to use it? Like in my flat, which I want to buy for at Lakshmi Nagar, I'm going to use it as a coaching institute. So in my mind, it was valued at 45 lakhs. But a person who's going to use it for, say, his CMA practice, for him, the value should be between 35 lakhs to 40 lakhs. So value is always ascertained from perspective of the user. Who's going to use it, and what use will he be putting it in? And users can be equal to customers also, guys. Users can be equal to customer. That's a fair point. But the perspective is who's going to use it and what use will he put it in. As compared to this, price is always consumer driven. What consumer has given as the price, that is the final price. So price is always consumer driven. Consumer is the person who will be determining the price. So on the basis of consumer and seller's interaction, the price will be ascertained. Market forces have grave impact on price. Now this is an important concept, guys, that market forces, whatever are the market forces, whatever demand and supply forces are there, those forces will determine the price. Market forces will have a great impact on the price. So market will determine what is the price of a particular good or commodity. Market forces have minimal or no impact on value. When valuation is done, then market forces don't have any impact on it, don't have any say in the valuation, because valuation is not pressurized by demand and supply. If product is demanded at a very high level, that's okay. Supply is less, demand is high, that's okay. My valuation will be ascertained only on the basis of use that product is going to be put into. My valuation will not be affected by the demand and supply. So price is always affected by demand and supply, but the valuation will never be affected by market forces. That is the differentiating factor. This can be explained by a popular example of water and diamond, and we have already studied this particular example, guys. Okay. Next, very, very important point, guys. Please underline. Valuation is not an objective exercise. It is a subjective exercise. It is subject to many variables. It is a subjective exercise and it is subject to many variables, several variables. Okay, I'll give you an example, guys. Okay, I'll give you an example. What is C plus O2? Sir, CO2. What if I ask my mother to do this experiment again, C plus O2? What is the result that she'll get? CO2. What if I travel to Chennai from Delhi and do this C plus O2? CO2. What if I travel to Andhra Pradesh and do the same a chemical composition, C plus O2? What will be the result? CO2. What if I go to Mumbai and do this chemical reaction? CO2. What if I go to Singapore and do it? Sir, you go to any place on this earth, the result will be the same. So scientific principles are universal principles because science is exact. It is going to give you the same result whether it's done by A, Mr. B, Mrs. A, Mrs. B, or anyone in this world. Science principles are going to give you the same results. However, valuation is a subjective matter. It may vary from person to person. It might differ from person to person. So when I was purchasing that office in Lakshmi Nagar, I was valuing it at 45 lakh rupees. However, when the CMA practitioner was valuing that particular office, he valued it at 35 lakh rupees, which was 10 lakh rupees lower than my price. If a third person is valuing that particular office, he might come up with a different figure altogether. So valuation is not an objective exercise, it's a subjective exercise. It might vary from person to person who's doing it. It might vary from use to use. What use is one person trying to put that asset into as compared to another use which another person is trying to get into. It might vary on the basis of preconceptions which are there in my mind. What are preconceptions? Preconceptions are thoughts, belief. If I have any belief about a certain thing, then my valuation will be manipulated according to my belief. So, for example, if I believe that, some area in Delhi, say, Jangpura, there's a area called Jangpura in Delhi. It's not a very good area. I have this preconception in my mind. I have this thought and belief in my mind. Okay, my valuation will, differ because of this preconception. My valuation will vary. It will vary because of this preconception. So all the preconceptions which you have in your mind, which the valuer has in his mind, or all the biases which the valuer has in his mind. Biases means preferences. So if a buyer has some preference, like I want to buy a home at this location, not at this location, this is my preference, this is my bias. So because of valuers' preconceptions, thoughts, beliefs, and valuers' biases, the valuation will change. And no one can say that Mr. A is correct and Mr. B is not correct. You cannot say that. Both of them are correct according to their perspective. So it's about perspective. Valuation is about perspective. It's not about what is right and what is wrong. It is about perspective. What perspective are you doing valuation with? That is the key thing, and that is why it is said that valuation is not an objective exercise, it's a subjective exercise, which means it will change from person to person. It will change from circumstance to another circumstance. It will change. It will be different. So, business valuation attempts to estimate or form an opinion as to fair market value of the business at the given point of time. By its very nature, valuation are not precise. So, valuation are not precise, which means valuation are not exact. They might change according to change in circumstances. They are not precise. There is no universal legal framework which dictates on how valuation should be performed. So, universal legal framework means there is no law in place which determines that how valuation is to be done. In fact, guys, I told you about India, but in the entire world there are countries where there's no law regarding valuation. Yes, there are standards which are recommendatory, not mandatory. Those standards are followed in India also, and we have a fair bit of those standards in our syllabus as well. But there are no legal framework, there are no law, there's no act which is formed which will tell us this is the way in which valuation needs to be done. The reason why law is not there is that this valuation subject is subjective and not objective. Law is always made in a situation where we have a clear-cut point of view that this is right and this is wrong. So law will prohibit you from doing the wrong thing. We have a clear-cut demarcation. But in case of valuation, there is no such demarcation. There is no such distinguishing factor that what is right and what is wrong. And therefore, valuation is devoid of legal sanction. Legal sanction is not there in valuation because everything is right. Everything is right in valuation. No one can say that this is wrong and this is right. No one can say that, Nikhil sir, you are wrong in valuing that flat at 45 lakh rupees. That is not worth 45 lakh. If for me it's worth 45 lakh rupees. Trust me, I will get revenues from my CMA students. It is for me worth 45 lakh rupees. No one can tell me that whatever value I have put to that particular office is less. No one can tell me that. And no one can tell that practitioner also, that CMA practitioner, that no, whatever value you put to that particular flat is too low. You cannot say that. It's his perspective. It's his value in use. What use is he going to put that office into? It's his perspective. You cannot say that. It's wrong or it's right. So that is why valuation is a subjective exercise. Legal framework is not there, and valuation is an art. It is not an exact science. That is also a very important principle. What is art? Okay. So now I ask 20 people to draw mountains for me, and these 20 people are artists of the best genres from entire country. I chose 20 artists from the entire country and I asked them to paint mountains. Will any two pictures be same? Answer is no. All the 20 pictures will be different. It depends on their perspective. Which mountains have they drawn? Have they drawn Nilgiri mountains or Himalayan mountains or Vindhyachal mountains? Which mountains have they drawn, and what angle have they drawn, and what perspective have they taken? Have they taken a morning mountain or a afternoon mountain or an evening sunset mountain? Which kind of mountain have they taken? It will vary from person to person. So art varies from person to person. It's not exact. Even when I ask some artist to repaint his own painting, he will not be able to repaint it with accuracy. There will be some difference between the old painting and the new painting. There will be some difference. And that is the specialty of art. It's not objective. It's not exact. It is always subjective to certain variables. However, science is exact. You can never have a situation where C plus O2 is equal to nitrogen. Not possible. So valuation is an art. That is why we say valuation is an art, not a science. And a properly conducted valuation is nothing more than expression of informed opinion and best estimate, which is based on fact of past financial performance and judgmental estimation of for future. Valuation requires both judgment and interpretation of data. Now, two important things which valuation will require is judgment. Judgment means your analysis of the situation. Your analysis of the situation. What is the situation? Your analysis and your estimates, that is judgment. And second thing which is required in valuation is interpretation of data. Whatever data you have, like you have revenue data of future, you have data which deals with what profits are you going to earn from this business in future. All this data, how do you interpret that data? So these two things are required in case of valuation. different parties can have different interpretation of the same data and thus have different valuation. So every party can have different kind of set of data, and the valuation will also differ from person to person. Okay, now all these theories have been propounded by one of the greatest authors of all time in the area of valuation, guys. And whenever I used to get stuck in valuation, in doing my valuation in my big fours, then I used to watch his videos, which are there on YouTube. His name is Ashwath Damodaran, of course a person from Indian origin, but now is a professor in New York University, Stern University, New York. And he teaches valuation to the students of New York University. And he is the king of modern valuation. If I say that he is the father of modern valuation, I won't be exaggerating. I'm really telling you the right thing. He's authored several books regarding valuation, which are actually like Bible. They're Bible for valuation. He has authored several books, and I've been fortunate enough to read many of his creations in which he has discussed valuation in great detail. So yes, he is your guru's guru. So if you consider me as your guru, and I consider him as my guru, so he is your guru's guru, your grand guru, you can say that. Okay,